Hello. Today I will be featuring another Des Moines vid. This game I thought was fairly important in the way that it demonstrates how important angling really is for survival in a high tier cruiser. Well, any tier cruiser, but especially high tier ones where people tend to go for citadels regardless of ship types, even enemy cruisers actively hunt for them. Now, the Des Moines is actually fairly tanky for a cruiser. The key point here being you have to angle. Now, of course, there are some situations where angling doesn't help, like when you're against Yamatos or you happen to get unlucky with plunging fire. But most of the time, if you angle and protect your citadel, you should do fairly well when it comes to survival. Quite often, in fact, you see cruisers that don't really understand the value of angling and protecting their citadel, and when they find themselves getting focused, instead of, for example, stopping and reversing, they try to make this desperate full U-turn, and during this turn they of course provide the enemy with the perfect broadside. And in a ship like the Des Moines, if you give perfect broadside, you're going to get citadel. The ship has a fairly sizable citadel, which is quite easy to hit, and unlike, for example, the Zhao, which has quite a troll armor, it's unlikely you're going to get away with making turns like that. So learning to reverse in this ship is actually a surprising skill that you should get used to learning. Now, one of the reasons it works so well on this ship is of course the fact that the turret positioning, you have two turrets in the front, one in the back, meaning if you angle perfectly against someone, you're still able to use 66% of your DPS, which is of course a huge advantage, which means even while retreating and backing off, you're still able to pump out a significant amount of damage. And that's not an advantage that should be underestimated. The same thing of course applies to the Moskva, and the Moskva is of course also one of the ships that are very efficient at this whole reversing business and just keeping themselves angled to make sure that they don't eat too much unnecessary damage. Now, looks like they're pushing in both Montana and Moskva. The Moskva is of course my first priority target here since he's giving a lot of broadside, and as I just said, the Moskva is also a ship that's extremely easy to citadel if it gives broadside. However, if it understands the angle against you, it can be surprisingly tanky. Montana is looking at me funny. Yeah, I really don't like the way he's looking at me. I'll already start reversing. I don't want to take the risk of having to turn around here. I also want to keep this island between me and them so I can lob shells above the island, which is of course an advantage to me. Only getting some overpins on that Montana. Oh damn it, he shot at me. Trying to turn to angle myself. Okay, that was 11k damage, but that was, you see how much I'm healing up? In fact, you might notice that I'm healing up more than half of the damage that I took. And that's actually one of the things that's especially important. Pretty much every single ship in the game can heal up 50% of the damage they take from regular piercing, like regular AP pens. You can heal up about 50%. There are some exceptions. For example, Warspite can heal up 60% of the AP pens, but everyone else can heal up 50%. Citadel damage, however, cruisers can only heal up 30% of the damage. So when you take citadels... Oh shit, I might be giving a bit too much broadside here. Yeah, that was a citadel. That was a guaranteed citadel. You might notice how I'm not able to heal up as much as I was earlier. And that's because I took a citadel there. And unlike normal pens where you can heal up 50%, from a citadel you can only heal up 30% of the damage. Now battleships are of course worse off in this case. Battleships can only heal up 10% of citadel damage. That's why you sometimes see a battleship, why I often shake my head when I see a battleship eat two citadels and then they instantly press their heal, and then the heal only heals about what, like 2-3 thousand HP back, even though they just ate like 20 or 20k worth of damage. The reason why they gain so little HP is of course because citadel damage is not healable like other damage. Okay, I don't like this positioning. The Zhao has my broadside. When you're in positions like this, well, first of all, if you're ever in a position where you can get shot at from multiple angles, from your front and from your side like this, then you need to move. It automatically makes it a bad position, which is why I'm instantly accelerating now and trying to get this island between me and him. He also has my broadside, which means he's my priority target as well. I want to discourage him and get him away from my broadside ASAP. I don't want to let him get some free shots in there. It doesn't matter if it's a Zhao citadel or a battleship citadel. Once again, I can only heal 30% of it because I'm a cruiser. Now, fire and flooding damage is of course light damage, so everyone can heal up the same amount. And the heal itself, of course, if you guys are wondering, the average heal heals 0.5% per second, and they usually last 28. Well, almost all heals last 28 seconds. There are some exceptions, like Warspite heals 0.6% instead of 0.5, so that's a bit more. And the Colorado, for example, heals 0.65% per second, as opposed to the normal 0.5, so that stronger heal makes it more competitive with the Nagata than it otherwise would be because of the low HP pool. And of course, Royal Navy cruisers, high tier ones, they heal 2% per second. They have the super heal, the best heal by far in the game. But I'm getting off track here. Bismarck turning to shoot at me. When people talk about the overpowered Bismarck or Tirpitz, or these are, they often don't take into account situations like these. Bismarck guns are only 380mm. If this was in North Carolina, I would be, or Amagi, I would be a lot more afraid. But because it's a Bismarck, well, did he even hit me there? I don't know. I think I just bounced whatever he shot at me. Is he gonna shoot at me again? This is a pretty good example because it's only a Bismarck shooting me. And against the Bismarck, I'm not afraid at all. Just like zero fear, because those 380mm guns have absolutely no chance against my angle Des Moines. I'd be surprised if they deal any damage at all. Okay, here comes his next volley. Bling, bonk. Bounces. Oh, he did hit the superstructure for 2k at the end, but other than that, pretty much zero damage. And that's kind of how it goes. If you angle in this ship, you are not going to get punished by something as squishy as a Bismarck. Oh well, as small calibered as a Bismarck. And he gets burned to death. I don't want to push around this island because there's a Moskva there. I'd rather just focus on the Shimakaze, try to get rid of him first. He's trying to shoot at me, and I used my repair on the fire, so I don't want to get set on fire all of a sudden. And of course, pushing around this island showing full broadside is extremely risky. Now, I managed to survive their push, and as I was saying earlier, it might not have looked like a lot of damage, but look at my damage counter. I've done 133,000 damage just reversing and defending against that push. And that's one of the huge advantages of when you reverse like that in the Des Moines, is the fact that you're able to continually dish out damage as you retreat. I was retreating, they were hunting me, my team, except for my division mate, was way out of position. They were hiding back, they're still hiding pretty far back. And I was forced to tank it all. But even while tanking it all, I could still deal that much damage to them in return. And that's of course one of the huge strengths of this ship, is that even when reversing or disengaging, much like a battleship, like something like a North Cal or a Yamato, you are still able to deal out a significant amount of damage in return. Of course, that requires you to angle. Angling, angling, angling. Always keep it in mind. If you're showing broadside to someone who can citadel you, then your positioning is bad, or you have a huge problem with your positioning. And it's something you need to address as quickly as possible before they understand to take advantage of it. Zhao, I'm not very afraid of a Zhao in the Des Moines. I honestly have no fear whatsoever of a Zhao in a Des Moines, because he has such a hard time countering me. If he angles in straight towards me, or tries to sail straight away from me, aka angle against me, well, then my DPM will overwhelm him easily. And if he tries to shoot all his guns at me, or tries to use torpedoes at me, well, then I'll just citadel him. The AP pen is so fantastic that you can easily citadel a slightly angled Zhao. Of course, long range is a different story. Long range, the Zhao can burn you to a crisp, but I was talking about the situation like this. I use one of my normal tricks is when I come fairly wide around the corner, but then just as I see the enemy, as I'm able to fire, I use C to switch to the front turret's point of view, and as soon as I'm able to fire, I turn hard left. I'm already turning hard left. I don't know if was he shooting me? It's possible he was shooting me, but multiple pens and citadel. He tries to reverse out, but it's pretty much too late at this point. This AP just shreds Zhao, and he shoots a full volley at me. I bounce it all because I'm angled enough. And while Zhao AP is great, it's nowhere near as good as Des Moines AP. Des Moines AP might move slower, but the penetration values are fantastic. He's a bit confused what just happened. He doesn't understand. I know I'm spotted here, so it must be this DD. I'm still spotted, even though my concealment debuff disappeared, so I pop my radar to see if I can spot this enemy Shimakaze for my Yugama so he can go hunt him down. I know he has to be here somewhere because I'm still spotted, and this is something to of course use to your strength. In the next patch, RPF would have of course pointed out exactly where he was, but even without RPF you can make a lot of logical assumptions based on your own concealment and last spotted enemy ships and so forth. So this radar found at his position, I was able to do some damage, and most importantly of all, my Yugoma now knows where to go, and my Yugoma can go hunt him down. It's a bit broken right now that the Yugoma has better firepower than the Shimakaze, but then again, the Fletcher has better torpedo power than the Gearing, so whoever said that Wargaming had any idea what they were doing. Taiho, kinda wanna hunt him down. There's 2 torpedo planes on the right. Are they going... I'm not entirely certain what they're going for. I don't know if they've dropped or if he's juking. Looks like he's pulling them back. I'm just gonna spam the Taiho though. See if I could get some fires going. Oh, torpedo plane popped up on the right. I don't actually know if he's dropped it or not. Just in case I'm using defensive AA. I don't know if he dropped the Yugoma or not, but I'm just gonna make sure that I'm not risking any silly torps in the side, so I pop defensive AA. I'm not too worried about not having it, since I consider the Des Moines AA so strong regardless. Now I'm getting into a bit of a conundrum here. The issue of course is I want to hunt the Taiho and I want to shoot him, but I am giving broadside to the Amagi and the North Carolina. Yes, they're only T8, but anytime you give broadside to a battleship, you're taking a significant risk. They're fairly far away still, but that doesn't mean that if they start focusing me... Are they shooting me? I'm wiggling myself, so I'm not ever sailing in a straight line. That's the worst thing you can do as a cruiser, sailing in a straight line. Okay, there were shells coming in, so it was a good thing that I was adjusting my course. So this means I just gotta abandon the Taiho for now. I gotta focus with the bigger priority, which is the battleships. As I said earlier, if you're in a position where someone has a free citadel, a possibility of getting free citadels in on you, then you're doing something wrong and you need to adjust it. So I adjust my course, and instead of I attempt to close angle against the Amagi while still closing in with the Taiho. So if I deal with this guy, I should be able to deal with him later. I see shells coming in from behind the island by North Carolina, so I angle in a bit more to dodge them while I continue to shell this Amagi. He is angled, but he's angling towards me, I think, but my AP still does decent damage, and most importantly of all, if he angles against me, he gives broadside to everyone in the cap, which means he's gonna melt. North Carolina is giving broadside, which of course means I'm sticking to AP here. He does get, as I was saying, you saw that I took a nice chunk of damage there. That's of course North Carolina has very slow moving shells, and that plunging fire, especially at this range, is especially nasty against cruisers because you can't really angle against it. I have caps lock activated. I meant to ask why cap without caps, but it ended up being caps locked. I of course don't want to cap this because I'm having a pretty fun game where I had to tank so many enemy ships, and then finally I was able to push, and I could probably do a lot of damage considering I'll be able to wreck this North Carolina, and then I could go on to hunt the Taiho. But sadly the game ended already, so sadly a shorter game than I would have hoped. Regardless, a nice chunk of money from this game, 192k damage, not that special, but considering I was in quite a lot of distress at the start, having to kite away from all the enemies, it ended up being quite a fun game. Team score wise, I shot down 18 planes, not really focusing on the planes too heavily in this game because, well, I had other things on my mind, like all those guys trying to get me killed. And damage wise, well, no surprise that AP was the big chunk. I did get some nice fires on the battleships. It was only a 13-minute 40-second game, but I felt like this game really highlighted just how much you can endure, how much you can tank in this ship, and still be at the end of the game fairly without any issues. I tanked like what, almost 69,000 damage. Considering the health pool of the ship, I tanked more than a full Des Moines worth of health, and at the end of the game I still had enough health to be able to chase down the carrier. So always keep it in mind when you're playing this ship. It's very strong as long as you angle, but as soon as you give a broadside, you're just gonna get deleted. Anyway, that was all for me. I'll talk to you again next time.